the birthplace of American Legion Baseball, Milbank, South Dakota. The American Legion Baseball Centennial Classic, game number 2 of day number 2, coming up here shortly. Glenwood post 187, Lowry post 253 out of Minnesota will take on Broken Bow post 126 out of Nebraska. A little bit earlier today, Lemoore post 19 from North Dakota eliminated Milbank post 9, 8-3. So Lemoore post 19 of North Dakota will play this winner of this game coming up at 6:30 tonight. I think I've said in earlier broadcasts sometimes it was 5:30, but it is officially 6:30 here tonight, this afternoon and tonight in Milbank. And again, we're going to have the color guard here pretty soon and the presentation of the colors, the ceremonial first pitch. And again, welcome into the video and audio stream here on BigStoneRadio.com. And we're also picked up by YouTube tonight and through the tournament as well. So we're going to just put everything on the air here for you as best we can. And so, again, welcome into the live video and audio stream here from Milbank, South Dakota. Again, a brand new field here in Milbank. Last year it opened up. So glad to have everybody come here to Northeast South Dakota. And if you can't make it, welcome to our stream, video and audio as well. Again, coming up here shortly at about 2:30, it'll be Glenwood post 187, Lowry post 253 out of Minnesota against Lemoore post 19, or excuse me, against Broken Bow post 126 out of Nebraska. So we'll turn things over kind of now to a public address announcer here, Tyler Merriam. We'll come back a little bit with the lineups. So enjoy the game, and we're just going to get the pregame festivities here on the internet, on the video and audio stream here as well.
Let's introduce the umpires for today's game. At first base will be Greg Warren. At second base, John Woodcraft. At third base, Steve Creer. And the home plate umpire, Johnny Kirshner.
All right, let's meet the starting lineups here for both teams. Again, the umpires, as you just saw and heard, were introduced. At first base, Greg Warren. At second base, John Whitcraft. At third base, Steve Creer. And at home plate, Johnny Kirshner. And let's meet the starting lineup. First of all, for the home team on the scoreboard this afternoon, the Glenwood-Lowry post 253 and 187 players. Actually, Lowry is being introduced first. They're the visitors, so let's do that as well. Broken Bow, Nebraska post 126. They will line up this way. Batting first in center field, number 10, Coy Wardine. Batting number 2 and pitching, Max Denson. Batting number 3 at first base, number 7, Bryce Chaplin. Batting number 4 at shortstop, number 1, Dominic Novak. Batting number 5 and catching, number 27, Caden Record. Batting number 6 at third base, number 5, Zachary Lowry. Batting number 7 at second base, number 12, Kansas Kellum. Batting number 8 in right field, number 8, Colton Ulig. And batting number 9 in left field, number 19, Logan Bell. Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126 is coached by Kyle Kellum. He's assisted by Gavin Goodner and Caden Holm. Now for Glenwood, post 187, Lowry, post 253 out of Minnesota. The home team on the scoreboard, they will bat this way. Leading off and playing third base Number 1, Miles Wildman, batting number 2 at second base. Number 2, Mark Gruber, batting number 3. The catcher, number 12, Dylan Alexander, batting number 4. The cleanup hitter, he had 2 two-run home runs yesterday at first base. Number 21, Noah Jensen, batting number 5 in right field. Number 9, Connor Erickson, batting number 6. The pitcher this afternoon, number 10, Alex Panitsky, batting number 7. The DH, Riley Dell, batting number 8. At shortstop, Levi Johnson, and batting number 9 is number 4, the center fielder, Lake Luke Danielson.
Ethan Jacobs.
Glenwood post 187, Lowry post 153. Reserve players are Zach Gugasberg, Braylon Schnauer, Ryland Marlin, Tyson Metz, Nathan Dell, Ethan Jacobs, and A.J. Svek. Broken Bow, like we said during the broadcast yesterday, if you were listening, they brought 9 guys and 9 guys only, so no reserves. They have some other tournaments that take their other players down there in Nebraska this weekend, so no reserves for Broken Bow, Nebraska, post number 126. So we are just going to leave it right here, and we'll catch our national anthem. And again, glad to have everybody along here on the stream. Again, BigStoneRadio.com. We're also on YouTube as well. And again, we'll have one more game here tonight from the stadium yet at 6:30 as Lemoore, post 19 of North Dakota, will take on the loser of this game. The winner of this game goes to the championship tomorrow morning at 11:30. So glad to have everybody here, and in the broadcast booth, in the stands, on the internet, wherever you're listening or watching. And again, this is the 100th year, of course, of American Legion Baseball, and it was the birthplace right here in Milbank, South Dakota. American Legion Baseball originated on July 17th, 1925, here in Milbank, South Dakota, when then Big Ten Conference Commissioner John L. Griffith asked the American Legion Department of South Dakota to develop a youth program that would impart citizenship, discipline, and good sportsmanship. And we'll get back to that more, but here is our national anthem.
Since 1926, every player that participates in an American Legion baseball game has recited the Sportsmanship Code. And to read the Sportsmanship Code today, Birch Miller, post 9 at Milbank's commander, please welcome Mr. Joel Cummins.
Repeat after me. I will hit the rules. Keep faith with my teammates. Keep my temper. Keep myself fit. Keep a stout heart in defeat. Keep my pride under in victory. Keep a sound soul, a clean mind, and a healthy body.
At this time, we will have the presentation of our nation's colors to be followed by the singing of our national anthem. To present the colors today, Birch Miller, post 9 from the American Legion in Milbank. Our national anthem today, Raina Untelin and Derek Weber.
Right.
Welcome in again to the broadcast booth here. Again, a very good afternoon from the birthplace of American Legion Baseball. I'm Chad Knowles, glad to be along here with you. Again, Glenwood-Lowry, Minnesota, post 187, 253 against Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126. Let's meet the starting lineups as we already did, but in case you're just tuning in for the visitors this afternoon on the scoreboard, the Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126 team, they will bat with Coy Wardeen leading off. Max Denson will bat number 2. Batting number 3 at first base, Bryce Chaplin. Batting in the cleanup spot, the shortstop, Dominic Novak. Batting number 5, the catcher, Caden Record. Batting number 6, Zachary Lowry. Batting number 7 at second base, Kansas Kellum. Batting number 8 in right field, Colton Ulig. And batting number 9 in left field, Logan Bell. Now for Glenwood, post 187, Lowry post 253 out of Minnesota. They will bat third baseman Miles Wildman leading off. Mark Gruber at second base will bat number 2. Batting number 3, the catcher Dylan Alexander. Batting number 4, Noah Jensen. Batting number 5, Connor Erickson. Batting number 6, the pitcher Alex Panitsky. Batting number 7, the designated hitter Riley Dell. And batting number 8, Levi Johnson. Batting number 9, Luke Danielson. Let's set Glenwood-Lowry, Minnesota, post 187, 253 defensively. In left field is Connor Fry. In center field is Luke Danielson. In right field is Connor Erickson. Around the infield for the team from Minnesota, Miles Wildman is at third base. Levi Johnson is at short. Mark Gruber is at second. Noah Jensen is at first. Alex Panitsky is on the bump. And behind the dish, catching Dylan Alexander. Umpires, home plate umpire Johnny Kirchner. First base umpire Greg Warren, excuse me. Second base John Whitcraft. And at third base Steve Career. All right, so Coy Wardeen will step into the batter's box now for Broken Bow, post number 126. Yesterday against Milbank in their win, Wardeen had a walk and a run scored. And here's the pitch to Wardeen. That is low. And the Panitsky pitch, a swing and a miss. 2 balls and 1 strike now the count to Coy Wardeen. Again, Max Denson will bat next here for Broken Bow. Post 126 out of Nebraska. Here's the pitch right across the plate, but low from Panitsky. So 3 balls and 1 strike now to Wardeen. And here's the pitch. There's a foul back to the screen to fill up the count now. 3 balls and 2 strikes to leadoff hitter Coy Wardeen from the team from Nebraska, Broken Bow, post 126. There's the Panitsky pitch. There's a foul back over my head here in the press box. And again, the balls here can be returned to the press box and they'll get a quarter, courtesy of the local Ford dealer here, Milbank Ford. So the payoff pitch now at 3-2. Here it is. Wardeen spoils that one back out of play, foul as well. So Coy hanging in a good at-bat here, building for Coy Wardeen. Nothing else. He is making Alex Panitsky throw a few more pitches here. Here's the Panitsky pitch, and that is over Wardeen's head. So Wardeen gets the walk. And Broken Bow last night was pretty active on the base pass, so we'll see if they're the same here this afternoon. That'll bring up the pitcher, number 11, Max Denson, here this afternoon for Broken Bow. Again, no score, just underway here from the birthplace of American Legion Baseball, Milbank, South Dakota. Throw over to first by Panitsky. Back in safely is Coy Wardeen. And the Panitsky pitch is upcoming. Here it is, and that is right across the plate, and that is a strike. So 2-1 the count now to Max Denson. Throw over to first. Diving back in safely is Wardeen. balls and 1 strike. The count, here it is. That's hit on the ground into right field for an opposite field single for Max Denson. Going into second base is Coy Wardeen. And there's going to be an early catcher-pitcher discussion. Dylan Alexander runs back to talk to his pitcher, Alex Panitsky. And so Broken Bow is threatening here early. Bryce Chaplin in the batter's box. Bryce Chaplin last night against Milbank had a single, a walk, and a run scored. That was his output here yesterday afternoon. Here's the pitch. There is a ball high and inside. So 1 ball and no strikes now. Alex Panitsky working himself into a little bit of a jam here. Runners on first and second, nobody out. Here's the pitch. There's a foul back. Out of play by Chaplin. Dominic Novak waits on deck here for post number 126. And the 1-1, here it is. That is across the plate, but a little bit low. 2 balls and 1 strike. So Broken Bow is threatening to crack that proverbial goose egg first here in this ball game. Runners on first and second with nobody out. And here is the pitch. That's across the plate, but high. So 3 balls and 1 strike now. So Panitsky, like we said, kind of working into a little bit of a jam here. We'll see if he can work himself out of it. The 3-1 pitch now is going to be upcoming to Bryce Chaplin. Here it is, and that is a strike right at the knees. Nice pitch that time by Panitsky. So a full count now. Here comes the pitch. There's a swing and a miss. So Panitsky, a big strikeout for the post 187, 253 right-hander. And that'll bring up Dominic Novak. At shortstop, wearing number 1, Dominic. Last night, a double and an RBI and a run scored against Milbank. Here's the pitch to Novak. He takes it, 1 ball and no strikes. Again, Wardeen on second, Denson on first. 1 out. And the pitch now is, that's hit into left field, but right at left fielder Connor Fry, and he puts it in the leather. Throw back to second behind Wardeen. He gets back in time, but that's 2 outs now, and Wardeen still at second, Denson still at first. That'll bring up now number 27, Caden Record. Last night against Milbank, Caden had a run scored. He had a single and a couple runs scored. Single and 2 runs scored last night. There's a hit into pretty deep left field, but measuring it under there, about at the warning track, is Connor Fry. So Broken Bow threatens but does not score as they leave runners on first and second. Half an inning. It's Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126-0. Glenwood, post 187. Lowry, post 253 out of Minnesota, coming to bat. And we'll be back with the bottom of the first inning coming up after this.
19 pitches in the top of the first for Panitsky. 19 pitches. For Broken Bow defensively, Colton Ulig is in right field, Coy Wardeen in center, and Logan Bell in left. Zach Lowry, the third baseman. Shortstop Dom Novak. Second baseman Kansas Kellum, and at first is Bryce Chaplin. The catcher is Caden Record. Starting pitcher number 11, Max Denson. The Glenwood-Lowry order is Wildman, Gruber, and Alexander, Jensen, Erickson, Panitsky, Dell,
And welcome back here to our audio and video stream on BigStoneRadio.com and YouTube as well. Let's set Broken Bow defensively here for you. In left field is Logan Bell. In center is Coy Wardeen. Over in right field is Colton Ulig. Around the infield is Zachary Lowry at third, Dominic Novak at second, or at short, excuse me, at second is Kansas Kellum. Over at first is Bryce Chaplin. Behind the dish, Caden Record, and on the bump is left-handed pitcher, southpaw Max Denson for Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126. Again, no score here in the bottom of the first inning. Again, earlier today, Lemoore, North Dakota, post number 19, eliminated Milbank from the tournament, winning 8-3 over post 9. So Lemoore will take on the loser of this game here tonight at the stadium at 6:30 Central Time. So Glenwood, post 187, Lowry, post 253, will send up Miles Wildman, Mark Gruber, and Dylan Alexander, the first three batters here. And now catcher Caden Record went back to the dugout for a little bit, but now he's back behind the dish. And they are still warming up here. Again, Milbank, South Dakota, the birthplace of American Legion baseball 100 years ago, back in 1925. The first American Legion World Series was played in Philadelphia, though, on October 11th through the 13th of 26 during the 8th American Legion National Convention. Yonkers, New York defeated Pocatello back on that date for the title. Since its inception, the number of American Legion baseball participants has exceeded 10 million people. In 1928, the American Legion Code of Sportsmanship was formally adopted and it has gone unchanged since then. A few facts about American Legion baseball. Again, the 100th year celebration this year of American Legion baseball. And here is Miles Wildman up for Glenwood-Lowry. Last night, Wildman got a triple and he scored a couple runs. There's a pitch that is low and inside after a swing and a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike to Miles Wildman. And the 1-1 from the lefty Denson, that misses. 2 balls and 1 strike. Here's the pitch to Wildman, that's low and inside. So 3 balls and 1 strike now to Miles Wildman. Mark Gruber waits on deck. And here's the pitch. That is low. So Wildman takes a walk. That'll bring up second baseman Mark Gruber, number 2. Gruber last night. Let's see his line here. He had no hits last night, no runs scored, so he's looking for his first hit of the tournament here is number 2, Mark Gruber, the second baseman here this afternoon.
Now batting second baseman number 2, Mark Gruber.
Dylan Alexander waits on deck. Gruber squares to bunt. Wildman gets about almost a quarter of the way in between first and second, goes back to first. Oh, no balls, or 1 ball and 1 strike now, no balls and 1 strike. And here comes the pitch, squares to bunt. That is a ball this time that misses. 1 ball and 1 strike now to Gruber. Again, Dylan Alexander waits on deck here for post 187, post 253. And here here's the left-hander's pitch. There's a tried to drag Bunnett up the first base line, take the ball with him, so to speak. Bunnett at foul. So Gruber in a 1-2 hole here. Lefty against lefty in this particular matchup here in the batter's box. Gruber, left-handed batter, left-handed pitcher Denson. Here's the pitch. That sails way back to the backstop and into second. Sliding safely is Miles Wildman. So that's where Miles is with nobody out. And a 1-2 count, or a 2-2 count to Mark Gruber. Here's the pitch. That is outside. So it is a full count now to Gruber. And here comes the pitch. That is a called third strike. Gruber rung up on strikes. Strikeout number 1, rung up by Johnny Kirshner, the home plate umpire that time. And that now will bring up Dylan Alexander. Dylan Alexander last night had a single, an RBI, and a run scored in the win over Lemoore, North Dakota. Wildman at second now with 1 out. And there is a pitch that's called a strike. It's number 12, the catcher, Dylan Alexander. For Glenwood, post 187, Lowry, post 253 out of Minnesota. Here's the pitch. There's a foul back to the netting here in front of me. So no balls and 2 strikes now. Dylan Alexander here in a quick hole against left-hander Max Denson. Denson comes to the set now. Here's the pitch. Right across the plate on the fastball, but a little bit low that time. 2 balls and 2 strikes now. And Denson getting ready to deal on the 1-2. Here's the pitch. That is low. So now it is 2-2. Again, no score if you're just tuning in here. Glad to have you along, first of all. And second of all, Broken Bow and Glenwood-Lowry, no score. Here's the pitch. There's a grounder. 1 hopper to third. Over to first. The play out is complete. Zachary Lowry fired it over to first and got Dylan Alexander. So Alexander goes out 5-3, and that'll bring up now Noah Jensen. What did Noah Jensen do yesterday, you ask? Noah Jensen had 2 two-run bombs, 4 RBIs last night for Noah Jensen, and this young man does not get cheated at the plate, that is for sure, and he gave a couple of balls a ride last night. Noah Jensen takes 1 low, 1 ball and no strikes. To the first baseman, number 21, Noah Jensen. No score, bottom of the first. And Max Denson, here is the pitch. That is right across the plate, but a little bit low. Looks like Denson so far does not want to give him something really good to hit, because he probably saw what happened yesterday. And here's the pitch. That is high and outside. So it is 2 balls and 1 strike now to Noah Jensen. Here's the pitch. There's a hit into short center field. Bloop single, and it's going to be an RBI single for Noah Jensen as he dumps one into left center field. Miles Wildman comes in to score. So it is 1-0. Glenwood-Lowry. So 1-0. Glenwood-Lowry cracks the goose egg first. Right fielder Connor Erickson now in the batter's box for Glenwood-Lowry. Swing and a miss. High heat that time. Connor Erickson yesterday a single. He was hit by a pitch and he scored a couple of runs. That was his output yesterday offensively for Glenwood. Post 187. Lowry post 253. There is a strike. So no balls and 2 strikes now. Denson quickly ahead. Glenwood-Lowry leading here 1-0. Just underway, bottom of the first. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss on heat that time by Max Denson. 2 strikeouts in the half inning, but Glenwood post 187, Lowry post 253. Does get 1 run to take a 1-0 lead after 1 inning. We'll be back with more baseball from the American Legion Centennial Classic, Legion Field at Farley Park here in Milbank. And we'll be back with more right after this.
Remember, time is ticking to be a part of our 50-50 competition. We started selling tickets earlier on today. The drawing will continue along until later on in this game. We will draw for the whole prize that combines all of the efforts of Game 1 and this game. 6 tickets for $5, 12 for 10, or 24 tickets for $20. And the Pop Support American Legion Auxiliary Programs. Again, we'll draw the winning number. Later on in the game, you can purchase your tickets. And welcome back to our video audio stream here on BigStoneRadio.com and on YouTube as well. Again, you're in tune to the American Legion Baseball Centennial Classic right here from the birthplace of American Legion Baseball, Milbank, South Dakota, Legion Field at Farley Park. Welcome on your Saturday. Broken Bow comes into the batter's box now with the top of the second, Zachary Lowry is in the batter's box, and he takes a ball. And it's another ball delivered in there to Lowry. He takes a strike. Lowry last night in the win against Milbank, 2 singles, an RBI, and a run scored. And there's a foul. Squibbed off to the right. So the count is full now to Zachary Lowry. He takes a walk as that pitch is low. So that brings up Kansas Kellum now for Broken Bow from Nebraska, post 126. Kansas Kellum last night had 1 single and 1 run scored for Broken Bow. Second after inning and a half today, guys. We had
So, top of the second inning here, Broken Bow is in the batter's box, and Kansas Kellum takes a ball, 1 ball and no strikes now to Kansas Kellum, number 12, the second baseman for post 126. Here he squares to bunt and fouls it at the plate. So 1 ball and 1 strike now to Kansas Kellum. Returning to first is Zachary Lowry. Lowry is on first with nobody out. It's a pretty good lead. Let's see if he's going to go anywhere on this pitch. He does. Yes, he does take off. Well, he fakes taking off, and now he could get caught in the hot box between first and second, and he is going to be tagged out in between first and second.
2, 4, 3, 6 on the pass field.
So caught stealing that time by Zachary Lowry. So now there is one out and the bases are empty. He initially took off from first, slammed down the brakes a little bit, and then he said, I'm going to go try to get to second, and then he was caught in the rundown, so Zachary Lowry tagged out. And here's the pitch now, and that is going to hit Kansas Kellum. That was a pretty good fastball that time. Kansas looks okay. Sure hope the young man's going to be okay. I think he is going to be, but so hit by a pitch is Kansas Kellum, and hopefully he's going to be okay. But he is standing on first, and again Broken Bow with no substitutes, of course, so no extra players here in Milbank, South Dakota this weekend. So Kansas will stay in the ball game, which is good to see, of course. He got plunked pretty good that time by a Alex Panitsky fastball. Colton Uhlig, the right fielder, now is going to bat for Broken Bow. Colton Uhlig last night drew a couple of walks, had an RBI, and had one run scored for Broken Bow, post 126. And here's the pitch. That is low. 2 balls and no strikes to Colton Uhlig with 1 out, and Kansas Kellum at first base for Broken Bow. It is 1-0 Glenwood-Lowry here in the top of the second inning. And a 2-1 count now. And here comes the pitch. That's high and outside on the Panitsky fastball that time. So 3 balls and 1 strike now to Colton Uhlig. Logan Bell waits on deck. Snap throw over to first. Ooh, that was a close play. Diving back just under the tag that time was Kansas Kellum. It's a nice move by Alex Panitsky over to first base. And the Panitsky pitch, he's got his sign, here it is, and that is a ball. So giving up his second walk of the half inning is right-hander Alex Panitsky. Kansas Kellum goes to second. Colton Uhlig becomes the runner at first. And that now will bring up number 19, the left fielder, Logan Bell. Last night against Milbank, Logan had 1 single, a pair of RBIs, and a run scored. Now there's going to be a little meeting at the mound for Glenwood-Lowry. And again, so happy to have everybody along here on our video and audio internet stream here. And looking through my American Legion fact sheet here, of course, American Legion baseball originated on July 17th, 1925, right here in Milbank, South Dakota, when then Big Ten Conference Commissioner John L. Griffith asked the American Legion Department of South Dakota to develop a youth program that would impart citizenship, discipline, and good sportsmanship. In 1928, the American Legion Code of Sportsmanship was formally adopted, and it has gone unchanged since then. Since Bob Feller was the first American Legion baseball alum enshrined at the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962, 88 others who played Legion ball have been inducted as well.
Left fielder, number 19, Logan Bell.
Meeting at the mound is over. That'll bring up number 19, Logan Bell, the left fielder. Logan takes one low and outside. Kansas Kellum at second, Colton Uhlig at first. For Broken Bow, Nebraska, post number 126. They are trailing here to Glenwood-Lowry from Minnesota, 1-0. Here's the pitch. That is a high inside pitch. So 2 balls, no strikes now to Logan Bell. And the Panitsky pitch, here it is. There's a pop fly into short center field. Getting under it and putting it away out there is Luke Danielson. So that is the second out of the half inning as Logan Bell flies out to center field. And that will bring up the Broken Bow leadoff hitter, Coy Wardeen. Coy, by the way, pitched a good game last night against Milbank. He didn't go the whole way, but he did pitch a very, very nice game last night for his team. And that is going to be a strike. Delivered into number 10, Coy Wardeen. No balls and one strike now to Coy. If the half inning goes on, Max Denson will bat. Top of the second, it's 1-0. Glenwood-Lowry from Minnesota leading Broken Bow from Nebraska. And that is a strike. So no balls and 2 strikes quickly now to Coy Wardeen. Here's the pitch. A swing and a miss. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Strikeout number 2 recorded on the game by right-hander from Glenwood-Lowry, Alex Panitsky. Inning and a half in the books. You're in tune to the American Legion Baseball Centennial Classic. Legion Field at Farley Park, birthplace of American Legion Baseball, Milbank, South Dakota. We'll have more baseball coming up shortly. Welcome back to the American Legion Baseball Centennial Classic video and audio stream here on BigStoneRadio.com and as well as YouTube this weekend as well. We've got the Centennial Classic, like we said, 100 years of American Legion Baseball in the birthplace of American Legion Baseball, Milbank, South Dakota. Glenwood-Lowry will send up Alex Panitsky. He takes a high inside fastball. Panitsky last night had a triple, a single, couple of walks, and 3 runs scored. So an active stat line last night for Panitsky. Here's the pitch. That is a strike at the knees. 1 ball and 1 strike now to Alex Panitsky. On deck will be Riley Dell. And here's the pitch. That is a strike. So 2 balls and 2 strikes now the count to Alex Panitsky. Here's the pitch. And that is a little bit high on the Denson fastball. So 2-2 now the count. Here's the pitch. And that is a called 3rd strike. Panitsky rung up that time by home plate umpire Johnny Kirshner.
The designated hitter, number 3, Riley Dell.
Strikeout number 3 this evening for Max Denson. And that now will bring up Ricky Dell, the designated hitter number 3. Ricky Dell last night had a single in a pinch hitting appearance. Here's the pitch. That's a Denson fastball. That's right at the knees for a strike. So 1-1 now from Denson to Dell, and he misses 2 balls and 1 strike now to Riley Dell. And here's the pitch. pitch. There's a foul way out of play to the right. And that's windshield territory. I don't know if that hit any windshields or tops of vehicles out there, but that was a pretty good poke out in the parking lot here at Legion Field at Farley Park. Here's the pitch. There's a grounder right back to the pitcher, Denson. He runs halfway over to first, flips it over to first baseman Bryce Chaplin, and the out is complete. Ricky Dow goes out. Pitcher to first. 2 up and 2 down here in the bottom of the second for Glenwood-Lowry. Post 187 and 253 out of Minnesota. And that will bring up Levi Johnson now for Glenwood-Lowry. Levi Johnson last night. Let's see. He had a double, a single, and a couple of RBIs. And a swing and a miss by Levi Johnson. So 1 ball and 1 strike now to Levi. If he reaches, Luke Danielson would bat. And here comes the pitch. That is low and inside now. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. And here comes the pitch. That is a off-speed delivery that time that stays outside. So 3 balls and 1 strike. And here comes the 3-1 from Denson. There's a swing and a miss to fill up the count now. Full count to Levi Johnson. Here's the pitch, and he is rung up on strikes. Strikeout number 4 this afternoon for Max Denson of Broken Bow. Post number 126. 2 innings complete. It is Glenwood-Lowry, Minnesota, post 187, 253, 1. Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126, 0. We'll be back with more baseball from the American Legion Baseball Centennial Classic, Legion Field at Farley Park here in Milbank, and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back to our live video audio stream here on BigStoneRadio.com and YouTube as well here tonight. Opening up at the top of the 3rd inning, Max Denson. He fists a hit into short right field. Max Denson, first pitch hitting, dumps a single the opposite way to right field. And Max Denson, he is 2 for 2 now. He's got 2 singles here this afternoon, and that will now bring up number 7, Bryce Chaplin, who struck out back in the first. He's 0 for 1 here for Broken Bow, post number 126. Here's the pitch. There's a hard hit into left field, and that is just foul. You could have hung close on that line drive that time, but that was just foul down the left field line, as getting a good piece of it was Bryce Chaplin. But just a long, loud strike by Bryce Chaplin. So no balls and 1 strike now to Bryce. Denson on first, getting a lead. And here is the pitch. And there is a hit into left field, and that's going to send the left fielder back about to the warning track again, but Connor Fry hauls it in. So Bryce Chaplin flies out to pretty deep left field that time, but Connor Fry made that one look pretty easy that time, drifts right under it and puts it away.
Shortstop number 1, Dominic Novak.
And that'll bring up the shortstop number 1, Dominic Novak, who lined out to left field. And he is 0 for 1 here in this game. Top of the third is where we are. 1-0. Glenwood-Lowry from Minnesota is leading here. And so, taking a ball is Dominic Novak. Here's the 1-0. There's a hit into the air in right center field. This could be a tough play, and that is going to get past the center fielder, Danielson. Denson is at third. They're sending him home. Here's the relay throw to the plate. Not in time. Denson scores, standing up. An RBI triple for Dominic Novak. And he got a pretty good piece of that one as well, way over the center fielder and right fielder's heads. So now it is 1-1 as Denson scores. And so
47, catcher Caden Record.
We literally changed the scoreboard as Caden Record steps into the batter's box now. He's flied out to left, and now he dumps that one into short left, and that is not going to be caught by the left fielder. So coming in from third base on an RBI single by Caden Record is Dominic Novak. He will touch home plate, so now it is 2-1. Broken Bow has taken the lead here.
Now batting third baseman number 5, Zach Lowry.
Over Glenwood-Lowry. And now we'll bring up Zach Lowry. Walked last half inning. Here's the pitch. That is a strike at the knees. So they've hung 2 here so far in the top of the third. Has Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126 to take a 2-1 lead. And Zach Lowry now is waiting the pitch, and that is right there as well. No balls and 2 strikes quickly to Zach Lowry. If he reaches, well, there's still only 1 out. So here is the pitch. Reach for that one, and a pop-up behind home plate. Catcher staggers a little bit underneath it, but Dylan Alexander makes a nice catch in foul territory. So now there are 2 outs as Lowry pops out to the catcher, Dylan Alexander. That will bring up now number 12, the second baseman, Kansas Kellum. Again, Broken Bow, Nebraska has grabbed the lead here, 2-1 over Glenwood-Lowry from Minnesota. And here's the pitch. That is low and inside. 1 ball to Kansas Kellum. Again, welcome to our video and audio stream here. Here's the pitch. That is right across the plate, but outside. So 2 balls and no strikes now to Kansas Kellum. And here's the pitch, and that's kind of a curveball, fastball, kind of a combination actually that time. It curved, but it was also pretty fast. Anyway, the pitch missed. So Kansas Kellum now awaits the next pitch, and here it is. That is a strike at the knees. So 3 balls and 1 strike now to Kellum. And here's the pitch. There's a hit into left field, and that's going to drop right on the line. As that is a single for Kansas Kellum. And going to second base is Caden Record, and coming to the batter's box now is Colton Uhlig, the right fielder.
Right fielder number 8, Colton Uhlig.
And that one, I don't know, maybe 5-6 inches fair, maybe more than that, but that was right inside the fair line, or the foul line, I should say. Dumped in there and placed perfectly by Kansas Kellum on his single. 2-1 Broken Bow over Glenwood-Lowry here. Here's the pitch. That is low and outside. So 2 balls, no strikes now to Colton Uhlig. And here's the pitch from Panitsky. That is a fastball. Strike. 2-1. 2 balls, 1 strike. The count to Ulig. Here's the pitch. That is that same pitch on the outside corner, but not called a strike. A little bit too far outside that time from the righty, Alex Panitsky. Here's the pitch. And there is a walk to Colton Ulig. So Caden Record goes to third, Kansas Kellum to second. Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126, has the bases loaded. And there are 2 outs, but we'll see if Panitsky can wiggle out of this monster jam here. And there is a called strike to Logan Bell. He flew out to center field, his only other time up here today. That is going to be another strike. So Panitsky has delivered 2 good pitches now, no balls and 2 strikes. We'll see what he gives right here to Bell. Here it is. Bell tried to check his swing, no appeal, and he did. So 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Logan Bell. 8th man to bat in this half inning here for Broken Bow. They've scored 2 so far. Here's the pitch. Called, 3rd strike on a beauty curveball that time from Alex Panitsky. Alex's 3rd strikeout here this afternoon, and Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126, leaves the bases loaded. They do score 2 runs. So 2.5 innings here complete. Game 2, day number 2 from the American Legion Baseball Centennial Classic, Legion Field at Farley Park here in the birthplace of American Legion Baseball, Milbank, South Dakota. Your score, Broken Bow 2, Glenwood-Lowry 1. We'll be back with more, so stay tuned here on the video audio stream on BigStoneRadio.com and YouTube.
Don't forget, following today's games, there will be a special event taking place at Lake Farley, family fun in the park, and the live band My Monday Regret begins at 8 p.m. tonight from 8 until 11. The band will be playing. Stop by Lake Farley, just northwest of here, following the conclusion of our games. Remember, the next game will be at 6:30 tonight. It will feature Lemoore against the loser of this game. The winner will advance to tomorrow's championship, which will start at 11.
And welcome back into the live video audio stream here on BigStoneRadio.com. Again, I'm Chad Knowles, glad to be along here in the birthplace of American Legion Baseball, Milbank, South Dakota. Sunny day here in Milbank, a little bit of Canadian Fire smoke out in the background. As Glenwood-Lowry from Minnesota will send up batters number 9, 1 and 2. Luke Danielson will get into the batter's box now for Glenwood-Lowry. Luke Danielson yesterday had a double and 3 RBIs. So a nice day yesterday for Luke Danielson from Glenwood-Lowry. Here's the pitch from Denson. That's across the plate, but a little bit low by the Broken Bow Nebraska left-hander Max Denson. And the Denson pitch, here it is. That's high and outside. So 2 balls and no strikes now. 2-1. Broken Bow is leading. Here's the pitch. That is high on the fastball. So 3 balls and no strikes now to Luke Danielson. We turn over the top of the lineup, and Miles Wildman next for Glenwood-Lowry. Here's the pitch. That is a strike at the knees. So 3-1 the count now to Luke Danielson, the center fielder. He wears number 4 for Glenwood-Lowry. Here's the pitch. That is inside. Danielson draws the walk. And that will indeed bring up the leadoff hitter, number 1, the third baseman, Miles Wildman. Wildman has a walk, and he's scored a run.
Face-off ball brings up the third baseman, number 1, Miles Wildman.
So Luke Danielson standing at first with his half-inning opening walk. And Wildman now has yet to pitch homeward. Here it comes. The swing and a miss. Nice pitch that time by lefty Max Denson. A strike is the count. Here's the pitch, squaring to bunt, and there's a snap throw back to first, and the tag was made, but the ball was on the field, so even if the tag was a good one, it would not have been out. As first baseman Bryce Chaplin dropped the ball that time. Luke Danielson back in safely. Luke getting a bigger lead now over at first base. And here's the pitch. That is going to sail across the plate, but be a little bit low. So 2 balls and 1 strike now to Miles Wildman. And here's the pitch. That is a little bit too far outside that time from Denson. So 2 balls and 2 strikes. Denson, a right-handed batter for Glenwood-Lowry. And here's the pitch. There's a foul back to the netting right a little bit in front of me here. So 2 balls and 2 strikes now to Miles Wildman. Mark Gruber waits on deck for Glenwood-Lowry from Minnesota. Here's the pitch. That is just outside. Denson kind of jumping around on the mound a little bit. I think Max wanted that one. But it was just a little bit too far outside. As leading off of first is Luke Danielson. And here comes the pitch. That is high and inside, so Wildman gets a walk. And that will bring up Mark Gruber now with 2 guys on and nobody out.
Second baseman Mark Gruber.
Back-to-back walks given up by lefty Max Denson, and Gruber, lefty against lefty matchup. Mark Gruber struck out back in the first inning, 0 for 1 here in this game tonight. Here's the pitch, and that is squaring to bunt. And charging in from first base is Bryce Chaplin. But it is a ball to Mark Gruber. Here's the pitch. Gruber squares to bunt. Throw back to second. They were trying to get Danielson a little bit leaning too far off of second base there. And Danielson gets back in safely as shortstop Dominic Novak cut in behind him to take the throw. And here's the pitch. That's a little bit high. 2-1 the count now to Mark Gruber. Danielson on second, Wildman on first for Glenwood-Lowry. And there is a pitch that's low. So 3-1 now. So Denson, 1 bad pitch away from loading up the bases here. As squaring to bunt and missing it is Mark Gruber. So that fills up the count now to Mark. 3 balls and 1 strike. And Max Denson checks Danielson back at second, and there is a half swing, but he committed. Strikeout number 5 recorded for Max Denson here this afternoon. And if you're broken Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126. That's a huge strikeout.
Alexander.
As Dylan Alexander comes to the batter's box now, Dylan grounded out third to first. 0 for 1 here, the stat line in this game. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. On heat that time from Max Denson. No balls and 1 strike. Danielson on second, Wildman on first. Here's the pitch. That is right across the knees for a strike. So Denson quickly ahead now, no balls and 2 strikes. Denson comes to the set, checks Danielson back at second. Here's the pitch, and that is right across, but a little bit low. 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Dylan Alexander. And here comes the pitch. There's a foul back to the screen. So 2 balls and 2 strikes now to Dylan Alexander. Noah Jensen waits on deck. Here's the pitch. And that is low and inside to fill up the count. And if you're Broken Bow, Nebraska, you probably would rather not face Noah Jensen with the bases loaded. But we'll see what happens. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. Snap throw down to second, and diving back in safely is Luke Danielson. But striking out is Dylan Alexander. Strikeout number 6 for Max Denson. And that will bring up number 21, and they are going to intentionally walk Noah Jensen. He has 5 RBIs in the tournament, 2 two-run homers yesterday, and an RBI single here earlier today. And they say, okay, we're going to intentionally walk Noah Jensen. So Noah goes to first.
Number 9, Connor Erickson.
And that will indeed load up the bases, though, as Danielson goes into second, or third, Wildman into second. Connor Erickson, who struck out back in the first, is in the batter's box. Here's the pitch. That's going to get away from the catcher. Charging in from third and scoring, standing up, is Luke Danielson. So now the score is tied at 2 here at the ballpark. As Glenwood-Lowry has just tied matters here at 2. And Jensen into second, Wildman takes third, and there's a strike into Connor Erickson. 1 ball, 1 strike to Connor Erickson now. Runners on second and third for Glenwood-Lowry. Here's the pitch. That's low and inside. So we're tied up at 2 here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Again, the winner of this game will go to the championship tomorrow. The loser will play at 6:30 tonight, right here against Lemoore from North Dakota. So 2-1. Here's the pitch. That is low. 3 balls and 1 strike now to Connor Erickson. If he reaches, Alex Panitsky will come to the plate. For now, first base is unoccupied here. Here's the pitch. Now that changes. Connor Erickson gets a walk. 3rd walk given up this half inning alone by left-handed pitcher Max Denson to load up the bases now, and that brings up Panitsky. Alex Panitsky struck out in the 2nd inning. And 4 walks has Denson given up all total. 3 this half inning. And it's 1 ball and no strikes now to Alex Panitsky. Again, bases are full of Glenwood-Lowry runners. Here's the pitch. There's a swing and a miss. So we'll see if Denson can get out of this jam. He's walking on eggshells right now, but there are 2 outs. And the score is tied at 2. Here comes the Denson pitch. That's the fastball that's high. Could hear the catcher's glove snap all the way up here on that Denson fastball. 2 balls and 1 strike now to Alex Panitsky. So right now, pitcher against pitcher. Here's the pitch. That is low and outside. So it is 3-1 now, the count. Here's the pitch. That is high, a bases loaded walk. Panitsky gets an RBI on the bases loaded walk. And that brings in Miles Wildman. Jensen goes to third, Erickson to second, and it is now 3-2 Glenwood-Lowry. So Glenwood-Lowry has grabbed the lead back here. And there is the meeting on the mound is over. And a courtesy runner in now as well for Glenwood-Lowry. That is number 7, Braylon Sharmer.
Courtesy running for the pitcher at first, number 7, Braylon Sharmer. The designated hitter, number 3, Riley Dell.
Now we'll bring up Riley Dell now, the designated hitter. Bases are still loaded here for Glenwood-Lowry, and there's a strike. Nice pitch that time by Denson. 3-2, Glenwood-Lowry has grabbed the lead back here. And here is the pitch. That is low and outside. Noah Jensen on third, Connor Erickson second, Alex Panitsky over at first. Actually, the pinch runner, Sharmer on at first. There's a strike at the knees. So 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Riley Dell. 8th man to bat this half inning for Glenwood-Lowry. Here's the pitch. That is a called 3rd strike. What a huge strikeout that time for Max Denson, number 7 for the Broken Bow Nebraska lefty. Glenwood does score 2 more though, and it is 3 complete here from the Centennial Classic American Legion Baseball Tournament, birthplace of American Legion Baseball, Legion Field at Farley Park here in Milbank, South Dakota. Glenwood-Lowry, Minnesota 3, Broken Bow, Nebraska 2, and we'll be back with more baseball coming up. Off here in the top of the 4th inning for Broken Bow. Coy has struck out and he has walked. Back in the 1st inning. Top of the 4th is where we are. Glenwood-Lowry from Minnesota scored 2 in that last half inning, the bottom of the 3rd, to grab the lead back 3-2 over Broken Bow, Nebraska. Wardeen hits a dribbler down the 3rd base line, foul. So no balls and 2 strikes now to Coy Wardeen. There's the pitch. That sails way back over the catcher's head all the way back to the retaining wall. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Wardeen. Wardeen. Max Denson waits on deck here for Broken Bow. Here's the pitch. Reaching out and fisting that one down the right field line. Actually just about around over the dugout. First base dugout. Foul. And there is a third strike. So being rung up that time is Coy Wardeen. That is the fourth strikeout here for right-hander Alex Panitsky. And that will bring up Max Denson now for Broken Bow. Here's the pitch. That is a ball. Denson has a pair of singles and a run scored here so far this afternoon. Here's the pitch. That is low. 2 balls and no strikes now to the Broken Bow pitcher, Max Denson. And here's the 2-0. There's a swing and a miss. 2 balls and 1 strike now to Max Denson. Bryce Chaplin waits on deck. And here's the 2-1. There's a single up the middle for Max Denson. His third single, his third hit of this game. He is 3 for 3. 3 singles, so he's got the hat trick of singles here, the hockey term in baseball, in the baseball game here. That'll bring up Bryce Chaplin, who has struck out and flied out to left. Here's the pitch. That is low.
3 for 3 with 2 runs scored and 3 RBIs. I think 6 for 6, 3 runs scored and 3 ribbies.
Here's the pitch. That is low.
Yes.
So 2 balls and no strikes now. The count to Bryce Chaplin. Max Denson on first. 1 out here in the top of the 4th inning. And here is the pitch. There's a hit into left field, and that is going to carry pretty deep. And that is going to not be caught out there in left field. And Denson will be held up at third. Stand-up double for Bryce Chaplin, as he got a nice hit that time, and that turned the left fielder Connor Fry around, and that is a stand-up double. As Broken Bow has 2 runners in scoring position now. Bryce Chaplin at second, Max Denson at third. And that'll bring up the shortstop, number 1, Dominic Novak. He has an RBI triple, and he lined out to left field. He scored a run as well. So it is now a 3-2 Glenwood-Lowry, but Broken Bow is threatening to go ahead here. And there is a hit into about medium deep center field. Luke Danielson is under it. Here's the tag from third, and that is not going to be the throw in time. So Max Denson scores. Sacrifice fly, RBI. So now we are back tied at 3 here in the top of the 4th inning.
Catcher Caden Record.
And that'll bring up Caden Record, who has an RBI single, and he's flied out to left here in this game. Here's the pitch to Record. He spoils it back to the netting foul here behind home plate. So no balls and 1 strike to Record. There's a grounder to short. Scooped up out there by Levi Johnson over to first. And Caden Record is out. But Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126 after 3.5 innings. They do score 1 in this half inning to tie the score. Glenwood-Lowry 3, Broken Bow 3. And we'll be back with more Legion Baseball from the American Legion Baseball Centennial Classic, Legion Field at Farley Park here in Milbank, South Dakota, the birthplace of American Legion Baseball, and we'll be back with more coming up here right shortly. facts here. Welcome back to the live video audio stream here from Farley Park, Legion Field at Farley Park here in Milbank, South Dakota. A few more Legion baseball facts here. American Legion Baseball works closely with USA Baseball, the national governing body of amateur baseball, which promotes the game and sets player safety guidelines for boys and girls alike. Since 2011, Shelby, North Carolina has been the home site for the American Legion World Series, which is televised nationally on ESPN. And today, more than 50,000 athletes participate in American Legion Baseball on more than 3,500 teams in all 50 states, Canada, and Puerto Rico. So there you have a few more history facts here of American Legion Baseball on the Centennial celebration of American Legion Baseball here in Milbank, South Dakota, the birthplace. Bottom of the fourth. Levi Johnson leads off here for Glenwood-Lowry. He struck out back in the second. The Denson pitch, here it is. There's a foul, backing out of play. So it's 1 ball and 1 strike now to Levi Johnson here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Again, we're tied at 3 here between Broken Bow, Nebraska, and Glenwood-Lowry from Minnesota. And now the pitch misses, so it's 2-1. And here comes the 2-1 pitch, a swing and a miss by Johnson. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And the 2-2 upcoming. Here it is, a swing and a miss. Denson gets his 8th strikeout here this afternoon. And that'll bring up now Luke Danielson. Luke Danielson has walked and scored a run. So Luke Danielson is in the batter's box now. Here's the pitch. Not an official at bat yet here in this game. He has walked, like we said, and scored a run. Denson fires in a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. There's a swing and a miss on Max Denson Heat that time. Not catching up with it is Danielson. Max Denson, the full windup. Here's the lefty's pitch. That is, they appeal down to first base. First base umpire Greg Warren says he did not offer at it. And here's the pitch. That is low and outside. Catcher Caden Record could not locate it right away, but it was right behind him, just about literally. And of course, again, no advancement on the bases because nobody's on right now for Glenwood-Lowry. And here's the pitch now. That is low, and that's a walk to Luke Danielson. And that is
the Glenwood-Lowry leadoff batter, third baseman number 1, Miles Wildman.
6 walks by my count here, given up by Max Denson. And I'll bring up Miles Wildman, who has batted now in each of the first 4 innings. Throw over to first, a little bit high, and diving back in safely. Luke Danielson. Wildman has walked twice. He's scored a couple runs. And the Max Denson pitch, here it is. It's a strike. No balls and 1 strike now to Wildman. Here's the pitch. That is a change-up pitch that time. That's a strike. 1 ball and, or 2 balls and 2 strikes. Nope, no balls and 2 strikes. Here comes the pitch. There's a dribbler down the third base line. Lowry guns it over to first, and they get him there. And then the ball gets away on the return back to third. They're trying to get Danielson at third. They did get Wildman out at first, though, on a 5 5-3 put out that time, and then in the meantime, going from second to third was Luke Danielson, and he just about got gunned out at third. But Luke Danielson slides in safely, and that'll bring up Mark Gruber now, who has struck out twice against Max Denson. So here's the pitch to Gruber, lefty against lefty. Gruber takes a ball, 1 ball and no strikes. 3-3, here's the pitch. That is inside. 2 balls and no strikes now to Mark Gruber. And here's the pitch to Gruber. That's low and in. 2 balls. There are 3 balls and no strikes. Here comes the pitch. That is a strike. So now it is 3-1 to Mark Gruber. Luke Danielson on third. And 2 outs. Here's the pitch. That is low, so Gruber takes a walk. Eight walks now given up by Max Denson.
Now batting number 12, catcher Dylan Alexander.
That'll bring up Dylan Alexander, the catcher. He has struck out and grounded out to third. So runners on first and third now with 2 outs. We're tied at 3 here in the bottom of the 4th between Glenwood-Lowry and Broken Bow. And there is a strike. Dylan Alexander.
Alexander grounded out. He was the chopper to third.
Here's the pitch. That is inside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
6 of the 9 batters struck out.
Here's the pitch. That is a strike. So 1 ball and 2 strikes now the count to Dylan Alexander. And here's the pitch. That is low. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Danielson on third, Gruber on first for Glenwood-Lowry. And they are tied with Broken Bow of Nebraska right now, 3-3 here in the bottom of the 4th. And here's the pitch from Denson. That is a chopper down the third base line, foul. Fielded down there by the third base coach from Glenwood-Lowry. Nice play. And here comes the pitch, and that just about hits Alexander in the head that time. I don't know how Alexander got out of the way of that one, but he did. To fill up the count now, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Here comes the pitch. It's a swing and a miss. So that is strikeout number 9 for Max Denson here this afternoon, and that closes 4 innings. 4 innings are in the book. No runs in the bottom of the 4th for Glenwood-Lowry. And after 4 complete here at the Centennial Classic American Legion Baseball at Legion Field at Farley Park here in Milbank, South Dakota, the birthplace of American Legion Baseball. Glenwood-Lowry, Minnesota, Broken Bow, Nebraska are tied at 3. We'll be back with more shortly. back in here to our live video audio stream on BigStoneRadio.com on a Saturday afternoon here in the birthplace of American Legion Baseball, Milbank, South Dakota. Glad to have everybody along wherever you are listening or watching from. Welcome aboard. Welcome into our broadcast here. Again, pleased to bring you all these games here on the internet. We got a good one going here at Glenwood-Lowry, post 187, 253 out of Minnesota. Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126 are tied at 3. We're in the top of the 5th now. Now we'll bring up third baseman, number 5, Zachary Lowry. Zachary has popped out to the catcher, and he's walked, and he was thrown out at second base, or forced out, I guess, at second base. It's no balls and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch. That is high and outside to Zachary Lowry. And here's the pitch that's fouled out of play to the right by Lowry. So 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Zachary Lowry. Here's the pitch. Grounder to third on 1 hop. And that's a good play over there. Miles Wildman guns out.
Obviously, I'm well aware of
Zachary Lowry
stories of the sport game.
with a 5-3 putout. That'll bring up Kansas Kellum, now number 12, the second baseman for Broken Bow, Nebraska. Here's the pitch. That goes back to the screen. 1 ball and no strikes.
It's honestly a little bigger than I thought. I think we're starting on next week.
We're tied at 3 here. And a 1-1 count now to Kansas Kellum. Here's the pitch. There's a pop-up. Back out of play. So 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Kansas Kellum. And here is the pitch, and that is right across the plate, but a little bit low from Alex Panitsky, the Glenwood-Lowry pitcher. Here's the pitch. That is a curveball called third strike. Nice pitch that time by Panitsky. That is strikeout number 5.
Number 8, Colton Ulick.
And now we'll bring up Colton Ulick now, who has walked a couple of times, both times actually. So Colton Ulick still looking for that first official plate appearance here in the game, but he has walked twice here this afternoon so far. Here's the pitch. That is a nice curveball over on the outside edge. 1 ball and 1 strike now to Colton Ulick. Alex Panitsky, here's the fastball. That's whacked out of play to the left by Ulick. So it is 2-2 now. Here's the pitch. There is a swing and a miss. 6 strikeouts now for Panitsky. 3 up and 3 down. Top of the 5th for Broken Bow. And after 4.5, it is Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126-3. Glenwood-Lowry, post 187-253. From Minnesota, they have 3 as well. So we're tied at 3, and we will be back with more baseball in the Centennial Baseball American Legion Classic here from Legion Field at Farley Park in Milbank, South Dakota. And we'll be back with more baseball action coming up shortly.
Your attention please, defensive changes for Broken Bow. Now playing first base, number 11, Max Benson. The new pitcher, number 7, Bryce Chaplin.
live video audio stream here from Milbank, South Dakota, the birthplace of American Legion Baseball, the American Legion Baseball Centennial Classic Tournament at Legion Field at Farley Park here in Milbank, South Dakota, where 100 years ago, American Legion Baseball was born right here in Milbank. We are going into the bottom of the fifth now as Glenwood-Lowry, post 187, 253 from Minnesota, will come in to face new pitcher now, Bryce Chaplin, and starting pitcher Max Denson goes to first, so a straight defensive switch now for Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126. And Glenwood-Lowry will send up Noah Jensen here in the bottom of the fifth inning. Noah Jensen so far today has an RBI single, and he was intentionally walked back in the third inning. And here's the pitch now. There's a swing and a miss by Jensen. He had a pair of two-run homers yesterday for Glenwood-Lowry, and he was trying for another one right there. Mighty swing and a miss. No ball and one strike. And there's another big swing and a miss. Actually a foul tip. So Chaplin quickly ahead now. No balls and two strikes. Chaplin, a right-handed pitcher for Broken Bow. And Jensen wants time, steps out of the batter's box. Now number 21 is back in. And here comes the pitch. And that is a little bit low. Jensen took it. One ball and two strikes now to Noah Jensen. Here comes the pitch. There is a mighty swing and a miss. So strikeout number one recorded for a relief pitcher, Bryce Chaplin.
Right fielder Connor Erickson.
And that is strikeout number 10 total here for the Broken Bow pitching staff this afternoon. That'll bring up Connor Erickson. He takes a fastball high and outside. One ball and no strikes. To the right fielder, Connor Erickson wears number 9 for Glenwood-Lowry. And here's the pitch. There's a mile-high pop-up in foul territory and goes out into the parking lot. And kids scatter for the ball out there. They can take the ball back to the concession stand here in Milbank for a quarter. You get 8 of those, I believe you have yourself a hot dog. And here's the pitch now. There's a swing and a foul back to the screen. So one ball and two strikes now is the count to Connor Erickson. Bottom of the fifth is where we are. Here's the pitch. That is low and outside. So 2 balls and 2 strikes to Connor Erickson. And here comes the pitch. That's on the ground to shortstop Dominic Novak over to first. And not quite in time. That was a nice play, a nice effort that time by Dominic, but just a little bit too far in the hole. That's going to be an infield single for Connor Erickson. And that was going to be kind of a tough play anyway for Novak that time from his shortstop position. But he made it pretty close, actually, as Connor Erickson did beat it out, though, for the single. And that's going to bring up Panitsky now, who has a walk, an RBI, and a strikeout. Bases loaded walk. That's the reason he got the RBI, of course. So number 10 takes a ball, 1 ball and no strikes. Alex Panitsky for Glenwood-Lowry. With Erickson on first. Here's the pitch. That is inside in the inside corner. So 1 ball and 1 strike to Panitsky. Here's the pitch. He squares to bunt. That's low and outside. Entertaining a thought of a snap throw down to first was Caden Record, but he holds on to the ball. And scampering back to first anyway was Connor Erickson. So, Chaplin getting ready to deal here. There's a bunt by Panitsky, and that is going to stay fair. Boy, that stayed fair by about a whole inch or 2, but that's a base hit via the bunt by Alex Panitsky down the third base line as catcher Caden Record wanted to probably almost push that one foul, but that just stayed inside the fair line. And there is a courtesy runner coming in now again.
The pitcher number 7, Braylon Sharma.
It's Braylon Sharma, number 7, and that will bring up designated hitter number 3, Ricky Bell. So runners on first and second now in the bottom of the 5th here for Glenwood-Lowry. And they have something brewing here potentially with only 1 out. And that ball's going to get away from the pitcher, and that's a live ball. So Connor Erickson wisely goes into third. So some advantageous base running there by Connor Erickson. The ball got a little bit away on the return throw. And that, like we've said before, is a live ball, of course. And now we are going to have a little bit of a discussion, though. The umpires are going to be talking here. And Broken Bow's coach, Kyle Kellum, is kind of asking, and now he's just gotten thrown out of the game, I believe, by the umpire. And so we're just kind of waiting to see here. The Broken Bow coach was thrown out of the game, though. And so there's a little bit of a stoppage of play here. And one of the Broken Bow coaches was thrown out. And back here on the live stream, and here is the pitch. That is high to Riley Dell. And one of the Broken Bow coaches was thrown out here just a little while ago. And Riley Dell calls for time. There's runners on second and third now for Glenwood-Lowry. And here is the pitch. That is a strike. And here comes the pitch, and that is a bunt, and that's going to be fouled back to the screen. So the count is full now, 3 balls and 2 strikes. We're tied at 3 here. Broken Bow, Nebraska, Glenwood-Lowry, Minnesota. And there's 1 out and a full count. Here comes the pitch, and that is going to be high and inside. So Dell draws the walk, so now the bases are loaded.
Just to distract. Like I just played the holder, just something.
And Levi Johnson now comes to the plate.
Levi Johnson.
The shortstop. Levi this game has struck out a couple times. And here comes the pitch. That is a swing and a miss. So it's a tie game at 3-3. And here comes the pitch. There is a bunt. And there's a snap throw back to third, and coming home and scoring is Connor Erickson for Glenwood-Lowry. And Alex Panitsky stays at second. Riley Dell stays at first. So now it is 4-3, Glenwood-Lowry. So it's 4-3 now. Glenwood-Lowry is retaking the lead here. And Levi Johnson, he takes a strike. Called third strike. So strikeout number 2 this half inning by Bryce Chaplin. And that'll bring up now Luke Danielson, who has walked a couple times here. Here's the pitch. That's a snap throw back to second, and getting back in safely is Panitsky. 1 ball and no strikes. Here comes the pitch. That is a swing and a miss on the fastball. 1 ball and 1 strike. Runners on first and second now with 2 outs. And Luke Danielson in the batter's box. Here's the pitch. That is inside. And that's a 1 ball, 2 strike count now.
Lucky the runner didn't take off.
And stepping off the mound now is Bryce Chaplin. So the little meeting at the mound now is over. And here's the pitch. That's high over the head of Luke Danielson. Two balls and 2 strikes. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. Here's the pitch. That is a hit into right field, but that is going to go foul. So the runners return to their bases. Panitsky to second, Riley Dell to first. And here's the pitch. That's a swing and a foul. So the count rides along at 2 balls and 2 strikes. It is 4-3. Glenwood-Lowry has taken the lead here in the bottom of the 5th. That's a low outside pitch by Bryce Chaplin. And here's the pitch now. There is a pop fly out of play to the left. So the runners return to their bases, first and second. Panitsky at second, Riley Dell at first. And here is the pitch. And that is a ball to load the bases, so Danielson takes a walk. Panitsky to third, Dell to second. And that will bring up Miles Wildman. Miles Wildman has walked a couple of times tonight, scored a couple of runs and grounded out. Third to first.
Third baseman number 1, Miles Wildman.
That's Miles Wildman now, like we said, in the batter's box. It's 4-3 right now, Glenwood-Lowry. And there's a grounder out to the pitcher, over to first. And Wildman is out. Pitcher to first. So that closes the 5th. But Glenwood-Lowry scores one more run. So it is 4-3 after 5 innings. And we'll be back with more baseball from the Centennial Classic American Legion Baseball. Legion Field at Farley Park. We'll be back shortly.
Panitsky is at 93 pitches as we start the 6th. 93 pitches. That's all I can figure without talking to Greg. Is like this, that was what preceded it. Was the ball, got away from the pitcher, and they wanted interference called to prevent that from occurring. My best guess.
Alrighty, welcome back to the live video audio stream here on BigStoneRadio.com, and Glenwood-Lowry now is back in front here in the bottom of the 5th inning. We're entering the 6th inning, and there is a hit by Logan Bell up into center field for a single.
Center fielder number 10, Coy Wardeen.
And that'll bring up Coy Wardeen here in the top of the 6th inning. Broken Bow, Nebraska is batting here. Logan Bell has singled, so he's on first. He represents the tying run right now. Here's the pitch that's high.
You up there? Yeah. We have our own full acoustic. We have full orchestra, 6 guys.
To Wardeen, who has struck out a couple times and walked. Here's the pitch. That is low and outside. That gets away from the catcher, so going into second base, standing up is Logan Bell. So Logan Bell now is at second base. There's a hit out of play, out into the parking lot.
That's all. A lot of those should be called, but it's the pitcher's fault that we're having this discussion. So if that's the case,
So the pitch upcoming now to Wardeen. Here it is. That is hit to third base. They've got the runner in between third and short now, and being tagged out is Logan Bell. And reaching on the fielder's choice is Coy Wardeen.
Wardeen reaches on the fielder's choice, 5-4 on the put-out.
So Wardeen is on the fielder's choice now, and that'll bring up Max Denson. He has 3 singles tonight and 2 runs scored. It's a snap throw over to first. Getting back in safely is Coy Wardeen. So Max Denson 3 for 3 here this game. He's got 3 singles. And here's the pitch. That is high and a strike, actually. So no balls and 1 strike now to Max Denson. Alex Panitsky, here's the pitch. That's low and outside. And on second now is Wardeen. Here's the pitch. There's a single into center field. They are going to send Wardeen. Here comes the throw. Wardeen slides in safely. And so Denson gets credit for an RBI single, as Coy Wardeen has just tied the game. I mean, he has scored the tying run. Max Denson drives him in. And that'll bring up Bryce Chaplin now.
Pitcher number 7, Bryce Chaplin.
Bryce has a double here in 3 trips this afternoon, so now we are tied back at 4. And there's a single to left. And that could run all the way. No, it doesn't. It's cut off by the left fielder out there, but that's going to be an RBI double for Bryce Chaplin.
RBI single for Chaplin.
An RBI single, I should say, for Chaplin. So now it is 5 to 4.
Shortstop number 1, Dominic Novak.
Dominic Novak, the shortstop. Sacrifice fly RBI, an RBI triple, and a run scored. And Dominic Novak in the batter's box now with the runner out at second base, Bryce Chaplin, and that's going to be low. So, post 126, Broken Bow has regained the lead here, 5 to 4. And here's the pitch. That is high and inside.
Say it when it's 105 or just after that.
2 balls and no strikes. Here comes the pitch. That is high and inside. Actually, that was a walk to Novak.
That was the 105th pitch for Panitsky.
So Panitsky has reached 105 pitches. And that is the end of the line here tonight due to the pitch count to Alex Panitsky. And we will catch up with the pitching changes and the defensive changes. We'll take a break. It is 5 to 4 now, Broken Bow, Nebraska over Glenwood-Lowry, Minnesota in this game here at the Centennial Classic in Milbank, South Dakota. We'll catch up with the defensive changes and be back shortly here on our live video and audio stream on BigStoneRadio.com.
defensive changes for Glenwood-Lowry. Miles Wildman is now playing left field. Alex Panitsky moves to the infield at third base. And the new pitcher is number 15, Nathan Dell.
And welcome back to the live video stream here. We've got the defensive changes. Nathan Dell is the new pitcher now for Glenwood-Lowry. Wildman goes to left. Panitsky goes to third. So Miles Wildman went from third to left.
27, Caden Record.
And Alex Panitsky went from pitcher to third, and Nathan Dell comes in to pitch. So that'll bring up number 27 now, Caden Record, with runners on first and second. Here's the pitch. That is a pop fly on the infield. And there's a collision down the line there, and so the runner is going to be, the batter is going to be called out. As the pitcher that time, Nathan Dell, was going for the ball, and so was the catcher, and the runner and the pitcher collided. So Caden Record is out.
Baseman number 5, Zach Lowry.
So I'll bring up Zach Lowry now, who is grounded out to third, popped out to the catcher, and walked. So runners still on first and second now, and here's the pitch that's low and inside. Again, don't forget it, 6:30 coming up tonight is the loser of this game against Lemoore, North Dakota. Here's the pitch, a swing and a miss by Lowry. Here's the pitch. There is a grounder to short, scooped up by Levi Johnson over to first, and the out is complete. So Zachary Lowry goes out short to first, but Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126, scores 2 runs, and they lead 5-4 over Glenwood-Lowry. We'll be back with the bottom of the 6th coming up shortly here on the live video stream. You are in tune to the Centennial American Legion Baseball Classic, Legion Field at Farley Park here in Milbank, South Dakota. We'll be back with more shortly. Welcome back to our live video audio stream here on BigStoneRadio.com and on YouTube as well. We are entering the bottom of the 6th inning now with Glenwood-Lowry post 187, post 253 coming up here against relief pitcher for Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126, Bryce Chaplin. Again, Broken Bow scored 2 in the top of the 6th inning to regain the lead here at 5-4. And again, don't forget, coming up at 6:30, the loser of this game will play against Lemoore, North Dakota, post number 19, to stay alive in the tournament. The winner for this game goes to the championship tomorrow morning at 11:30. And that'll be on the video audio stream here on BigStoneRadio.com. And here's the pitch now, upcoming to Mark Gruber for Glenwood-Lowry. Gruber has struck out twice, and he has walked. Here's the pitch to Gruber. That is outside. So bottom of the 6th inning now is where we are. Like we said, Gruber leading off here for Glenwood-Lowry. And here is the pitch. There's a swing and a miss by Gruber. One ball and 2 strikes now to number 2, Mark Gruber. And here's the pitch. That is a called 3rd strike to Gruber. So that is strikeout number 3 in relief for a relief pitcher, Bryce Chaplin. Max Denson, the starting pitcher, when he was in there, he had 9 strikeouts. So that's 12 strikeouts overall now for the Broken Bow, Nebraska post 126 pitching staff. And that'll bring up Dylan Alexander now. Dylan has struck out twice, grounded out to 3rd. Both strikeouts, of course, coming against Denson. Here's the pitch. That is low. Base is empty, 1 out here in the bottom of the 6th. Here's the pitch. That hits the mound, on its way into center field for a single for Dylan Alexander. So that is his first hit here this afternoon. And that'll bring up number 21, Noah Jensen.
First baseman number 21, Noah Jensen.
Noah Jensen, an RBI single today, an intentional walk, and a strikeout. Here's the pitch, a swing and a miss by Jensen. Again, the final game of the day here today is at 6:30. Lemoore will take on the loser of this game in an effort to stay alive here in the tournament. But again, that game is set for 6:30 first pitch here on the live video audio stream. Here's the pitch. That is low. Noah Jensen takes it. One ball and 1 strike. And here comes the pitch. That is on the outside corner for a strike. So 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Noah Jensen, the first baseman for Glenwood-Lowry, post 187 and 253. And here's the pitch. That is low. Jensen takes it. 2 balls and 2 strikes now to the Glenwood-Lowry first baseman. Here's the pitch. That is going to Noah Jensen, kind of pleading his case there. He thought that might have grazed him on the arm, but home plate umpire Johnny Kirshner would have none of it. So Noah Jensen is still in the batter's box now. Here's the pitch. There's a swing and a miss. A mighty swing and a miss by Jensen that time. That is strikeout number 4 now in relief for Bryce Chaplin. And now we are going to have a meeting at the mound from Broken Bow's coach. Earlier today, if you're just tuning in or have not watched otherwise, Milbank Post 9 was eliminated. Lemoore Post 19 from North Dakota beat Milbank earlier today 8-3. And we are in game number 2 here. And then, like we said, game number 3 will follow at 6:30 here tonight. And we'll bring it to you here on the live video audio stream.
Number 9, Connor Erickson.
And that'll bring up Connor Erickson now. Here comes the pitch. That is a hit into the air into right field, and that is going to fall into fair territory. And that is a Texas League single to right down the right field line by Connor Erickson. And stopping at third is Dylan Alexander. And that'll bring up now Alex Panitsky. Panitsky,
Third baseman number
who is now at third base defensively. He was the starting pitcher initially here in this game, but he moved to third. And here's the pitch now. That is low and outside to Panitsky. He has singled, walked, hit an RBI, and struck out. There's the pitch. There is a hit high into the air in right field, and that is going to get over the right fielder Colton Uhlig's head. One run is going to score. 2 runs are going to score. A 2-run double by Alex Panitsky. Alexander scores. Connor Erickson scores right behind him.
2-run double for Alex Panitsky.
And Glenwood has regained the lead here.
So Glenwood-Lowry in the bottom of the 6th, 2 runs, 3 hits, no broken ball errors, and no runners left.
So it is now 6-5. And we'll be back with more shortly. Okay, welcome back to the live stream. The correct score is 6 for Glenwood-Lowry and 5
Second baseman number 12, Kansas Kellum.
for Broken Bow, Nebraska, post 126. So right now, Glenwood-Lowry is leading here in the top of the 7th. And there's a ground ball to shortstop. Over to first. Dominic Novak throws out. Kansas Kellum. And that'll bring up Colton Uhlig now, who has struck out and walked a couple of times. So Glenwood-Lowry leads here 6-5. And there's a swing and a foul. Logan Bell will bat next. Here's the pitch. That is low to Colton Uhlig. And here's the pitch now to Uhlig. That sails high. 6-5. Glenwood-Lowry is leading here. And the pitch to Uhlig, that is a ball, so that's a walk to Uhlig. And I'll bring up Logan Bell now, who has a single in 3 trips. He's got a single, and he flied out to center, and he struck out.
The ball brings up the left fielder, number 19, Logan Bell.
And so Uhlig is on first now, representing the tying run. Here's the pitch. There's a hit into the opposite field, and that is going to fall in front of the right fielder. Connor Erickson for a single for Logan Bell. And Ulig stops at second. And that'll bring up Coy Wardeen.
Center fielder number 10, Coy Wardeen.
He's reached on a fielder's choice. He's struck out a couple times, scored a run, and he's walked. So runners on first and second now, and here's the pitch. That is a fastball on the inside corner. Strike one. Runners on first and second now. Tying run is on second. There is a hit into left field, and that is going to fall. And the runner at third will be held up. But Wardeen hits a single to left field, so now the bases are loaded. Ulig at first, or Wardeen at first, Bell at second, Ulig at third, and now there is going to be a trip to the mound by one of the Glenwood-Lowry coaches. And we'll see what's going to possibly happen here. Might just be a visit to the mound. He might want to make a pitching change. We'll wait and see. Nope, just a conference at the mound that is now over with as the coach goes back to the third base dugout. So runners on second and third. Now the tying run is at third. It is 6-5 right now.
Max Denson.
Right now, Glenwood-Lowry is leading 6-5, but Broken Bow has the bases loaded here with only one out, and that'll bring up Max Denson. Here's the pitch. That is a strike. No balls and 2 strikes now to Max Denson. And here comes the pitch. There is a fist hit down the right field line, but it's foul. Giving chase, right fielder Connor Erickson. First baseman Noah Jensen and second baseman Mark Gruber. None of the 3 gentlemen could get to the ball. So the bases, like we said, are loaded. And there is only one out. Tying run 90 feet away. Go-ahead run at second base. There's a hit back to the screen, foul. So here's the pitch. There is a swing and a miss by Denson. And that is strikeout number 1, I believe, by Dell.
Bryce Chaplin.
And that is going to bring up Bryce Chaplin now for Broken Bow. Here's the pitch. There's a hit into left field, and that is going to be caught by the left fielder, Miles Wildner. And this game is over as Bryce Chaplin lines out to left field. So no runs in the half inning for Broken Bow, post 126.
Broken Bow, 5 runs, 12 hits, and 2 errors. So tonight at 6:30, we will have a matchup of the 2 1-1 teams remaining in the tournament. That will be Lemoore from North Dakota and Broken Bow from Nebraska. Glenwood-Lowry moves on to tomorrow morning's championship game at 11:30. So it'll be Broken Bow and Lemoore at 6:30 tonight in an elimination game. The winner of that game will face Glenwood-Lowry at 11:30 tomorrow. Let's have a round of applause for these 2 teams. What an excellent game they just gave us here today.
and we're back on the video audio stream here on BigStoneRadio.com. Let's wrap this thing up. And so advancing to the championship game tomorrow morning at 11:30 is Glenwood-Lowry as they beat Broken Bow here today, 6-5 in the game here tonight. Glenwood-Lowry from Minnesota, they score 1 in the first, 2 in the third, 1 in the fifth, and 2 in the sixth for their 6 runs. And Broken Bow from Nebraska scores 2 in the third, 1 in the fourth, and 2 in the sixth. But they fall 1 run short. So your final score is Glenwood-Lowry from Minnesota winning here 6-5 over Broken Bow. So it's 6:30 tonight, your game for who plays in the championship tomorrow, Broken Bow against Lemoore. Coming up at 6:30, we'll have that on the video and audio stream here on BigStoneRadio.com as well as YouTube. But Glenwood-Lowry is now in tomorrow's championship game at 11:30. We'll have that on the video and audio stream as well. But for now, we're going to shut things down, and we'll be back a little bit before 6:30 tonight here, and we'll bring you the next game, the final game of this day. Again, that will be Broken Bow against Lemoore. I'm Chad Knowles talking here on the live video audio stream from the American Legion Baseball Centennial Classic, Legion Field at Farley Park here in Milbank, the birthplace of American Legion Baseball, Milbank, South Dakota. We'll be back a little bit before 6:30, but for now, thanks for listening, everybody, and good night from Milbank.